Thanks, Shara, and welcome everybody. You know, it takes a shift in your thinking to move from the traditional environment where you're an employee of a particular business and to the self-employment area. This mind shift requires you to see yourself, you know, as your own boss and to challenge yourself to be successful for yourself and your family and to build a brand and secure financial reward. I'm waiting for a slide shift. Today, we are going through a significant revolution, one in which the talents you already possess, the desire to learn and relearn, bring about changes heretofore not considered. Why is this true? Think of the amazing technological advancement you hold in your hand has more computing power than the computers that sent a man to the moon and returned them safely to Earth. Every day, new technologies come along that will enable you at no or very minimal cost to move forward on the self-employment journey. To be sure, technology is changing our world, and it can be harnessed with your passion and desire for a self-employment journey. Likewise, we live in a global world, one in which disruptions, good and bad, welcomed or not, are part of our daily lives. A flexible workforce, one that does not necessarily need a fixed office space, or a location is now a reality. In turn, this makes self-employment a real option for each of us. The rise of self-employment is dramatic. There's a slight delay is what we're going through here, folks. In the past 5 years, half a decade, on the left side of the screen, 4 million additional Americans have chosen self-employment careers as a way to move forward and to make a living. More than a third, 35% of the U.S. workforce now calls self-employment their job. And make no mistake about it, self-employment can be economically quite rewarding. Today, nearly $1 trillion of the nation's gross domestic product is income from self-employment. In short, opportunity abounds. Wrap your mind around how flexible and accessible self-employment is for each of you. No doubt, personal circumstances differ for every one of us, but 46% of freelancers, that's self-employed, find that traditional work does not provide the flexibility they need or a rewarding and successful personal and work experience. And with the advent of revolutionary aspects of advanced technology, self-employed find by 77% that these new technologies have made it easier to find freelance or self-employment work. The very ecology of our modern and constantly changing world is a demonstration of why we must shift our thinking, shift our mindset, and embrace this new environment and the opportunities that this new environment presents. Importantly, you already have skills that you have learned in your traditional W-2 work environment that you can repurpose in a rewarding self-employment environment. Here at BoomerWorks, we want to rev up your engine, give you confidence, and empower you to find and create steady income in work that will be more meaningful to you and those who surround you. All that experience that you have garnered over many, many years of employment has paved the way for this journey. Think of the skills you've already learned and honed over your career. Consider the entire body of work that you have already accomplished and made part of who you are. Think of the jobs in which you were paid, and quite frankly, the jobs that were unpaid. You know, your community work, your faith work, your parenting skills, your many community engagements that go unpaid but build your expertise. All of these together are the components of not only the career you have garnered, but also a direct path to self-employment. Here's a way to think through the self-employment journey. Obviously, there are a group of advantages. Many of those advantages are listed here. You can reinvent with freedoms that traditional work just simply doesn't provide. This is a good one. Your schedule is yours. Flexibility and balance that may have actually been denied in your traditional work environment is yours. And yes, potential income is a broad, and it can be as broad and as high as the attitude and hard work you're willing to put into the endeavor. Self-employment has multiple streams of revenue. It's not one product, it's not one service, but any number as you expand and learn to take advantage of the opportunities that are right in front of you. You can work your passion, not just wait and be told what to do. And the only office politics, quite frankly, is between your ears. All of these advantages are part of the self-employment journey. Now, we need to be realistic. Opportunities and advantages also present challenges. You, excuse me, you will not be receiving a paycheck every other week or on the 1st or 15th of the month sent by your employer. You may have to bolster sales skills and capacity. You will need to invest in your new work, and that might present some personal financial issues. Like many, most people are risk adverse, and self-employment entails appropriate risk tolerance. You may lack some of that self-confidence, and no one else is going to provide you with benefits other than those that you're able to provide for yourself. And finding clients, requires real effort. So as mentioned earlier, BoomerWorks presents many tools to assist you on this journey. And you will have that opportunity during this discovery session to explore some of the fundamentals in advancing your self-employment career. So as you consider this journey, you must remind yourself, we're going to do a quick poll. I got ahead of myself. We're going to do a quick poll for each of you. So we're going to ask you to think about what the biggest advantage is to self-employment. And you're going to have 6 options here. You can see them on the screen. I don't need to read them for you. And in just a moment, I'm going to launch this poll, and we hope you'll take advantage of telling us what you think. You get one choice in the poll. So let's go on to the next poll. And it should be coming up right now. So take a moment and answer these questions. Okay, we have most people are going to put 95% of you have answered the question. So let's close the poll. 100% answered the question. Let's share the results. All right. So as you can see here, the big winner is flexible schedule. And that's followed closely behind by, the ability to pursue your own passion. Interestingly enough, nobody cared much about office politics, so that's good to see, actually. So together, these are this gives us an idea of what it is that we can do to help you and what you need to think about moving forward. We're waiting for a slide to come up, and it should be just a moment. So we have a second poll. Whoops. We have a second poll. And in this one, we're going to ask you the question about, the challenge, the largest or biggest challenge that you have. In moving in this direction. I want to make sure I have this right. There we go. I'm going to launch the poll in another second. Here we go. We're getting ready to close the poll down. And the poll is closed. And let's share the results. Okay, well, as you can see, finding clients and worried about that stable income that you're so used to from traditional W-2 work are the big issues surrounding us. That's more than 50% of all the answers here. Very interesting that there's no concern for risk in this particular case, or the loss of some personal savings. Sales skills are an issue, but we'll be talking a little bit about that. So let me exit this screen.
Okay.
And let's summarize the mind shift that we've been talking about for the last few moments. As you consider this journey, you determine for yourself what are some of the advantages of transitioning into the type of self-employment that may interest you, and what mindsets might you need to overcome. And we're going to ask you to go into breakout groups. There'll be approximately 5 of you in each group. It's important that when we launch these, that you hit the little blue button, just a reminder here, that says join the breakout room. We'll give you 10 minutes. Here's the reminder for you about our breakouts. And we'll be watching the chat. And please, one other thing, find one person who can report out to the rest of us the general conversation that was held in your meeting. So with that in mind, I'm going to do the breakout rooms.
And remember, during your breakouts, you want to talk about the advantages and challenges of self-employment, and kind of how you're kind of wrapping your mind around all of it.
Enjoyed getting to meet your colleagues and had a good opportunity to share with each other. Let's see if we get a couple people who would be interested in telling us a little bit about what happened. Could we start with whoever the spokesperson was for Breakout Group 2? If you'd simply unmute yourself, and we'll move forward. And who would that be? I'm looking. And Group 2. No one reporting out?
Well, we can go a little organically. So who would like to share with us from any group? It's fine.
Hi, Shira. I'm from Group 4. This is Janice Burks, and
Hey,
Iris
Janice.
and I had a great 10-minute conversation because our partner was never able to come up voice, and Miss Banks had to take an emergency phone call, so she had to scoot. She may be joining us soon. Iris and I, between the two of us, have trouble with time and focus. And just how to organically start the process of a business, finding the need, finding the niche.
Yeah, it's all really important stuff. So in our, I'm not sure if you've been able to go to any of our other trainings, but we have in our training center on the boomerworks.org training center tab, we have some new tabs around refining your business concept and introduction to marketing and that kind of thing. And there are some interesting tips within the videos on those workshops that might help you. In addition, we hope to have, I don't know, maybe in a couple months or so, somebody actually do a training just on time management. I have a colleague who that is his specialization. So I'm hoping to kind of get him to help us. But what you're talking about is very, very, very normal and understandable, but it very much is about like taking the first step, because it seems very overwhelming, right? But it's that whole eat the elephant one bite at a time concept. So yeah, totally appreciate what you're saying. So thanks for sharing, Janice. Anybody?
And
Yeah.
I look forward to exploring that a little bit more. I'm finding a jack of all trades, master of none, and which one's going to be the best go.
Yeah, actually, in this next video, you're going to see, I'm not sure if you've been through this before with us, but we're going to be taking you through this exercise called Passionativity, and it looks at all of your different skills, the skills particularly that you're really passionate about, and kind of how to repurpose them into the most meaningful work. Because you're right, you can do a whole lot of things, but there are some skills that I betcha you are sort of more passionate about, have more of a superpower in, when you can kind of isolate that skill and then kind of figure out, okay, who might actually want that, and you can just really kind of go niche and narrow. It's a really, really great place to start rather than spinning all the different plates at once. That can get a little overwhelming. So
thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here tonight, and I'm now meeting myself.
Oh, good. Terrific. Thanks, Janice. Anyone else want to share?
Hi, I'm Sheila Jones,
Hi, Sheila.
and I was in Group 5, and so there were 5 of us, and we had a array of different things. We had someone that actually had taken time and who had already had a business and talked about, some of the issues that they had. My concern was just balancing it all and launching, because mine is more of a side hustle. So just trying to balance, everything in order to still take care of the work here. And then also moving into what I ultimately want to be able to do. So we talked a little bit, about that. And then we had a lady that spoke about how, just finding customers and was a big deal.
Sure.
And so I think, there were four of us. And so I think that was basically covering, just some of the different things that we were discussing and some of the,
Yeah. And hopefully you see you're not alone. That's part of why we do these, right? You have a
yeah,
community of people out there and you're all kind of going through the same stuff.
right.
Which actually, to that point, hopefully in the next, again, not sure exactly when, maybe a couple months, soonish, hopefully before the end of the year, we're going to start another program in BoomerWorks that we're going to call growth groups. And the growth groups, imagine what you just experienced for 10 minutes, but an actual full, like 90 minutes, couple hours, where you're in a small group facilitated, hopefully by a coach, where you all can share wherever you're at, whatever your challenges are, what your needs are. You can help each other with business development, with conceptualization. You can encourage, share resources and leads and that kind of thing. So we're really looking forward to giving you guys that community building opportunity because there's so much that can happen in the power of a group, right?
Yeah.
A lot of sharing and resources that you can give each other. So thanks, Sheila. All right. So one more person want to share?
Hi, this is Meenal. In our breakout room number 3, I think we were 5 folks, and we discussed what all we wanted to, and each have their own paths they've been using in the workforce, and kind of want to enhance that and help the community in one way or the other. Some had really good ideas. We also discussed that some of us want some resources, some network related network and resources so that we can go and approach folks. We also discussed that, like for me, I do not have sales experience in going and talking to strangers and asking for work or showcasing them my work. I have a hesitation towards it because I was a computer engineer. So this is all the things we discussed.
Thank you. That's a pretty wide range. And as again, you can see, like Sheila was saying, it's all over the map, right? People have, it just depends on kind of where you're coming from. And just to address the last thing that you said about, sort of building sales skills when you've come from a profession where you actually haven't ever had to do that probably. Really the whole idea behind selling your skills or even selling yourself is that what you're doing is you're providing a valuable solution to somebody else's problems. You're not actually asking them for money. I know it really
Yeah,
sounds funny,
exactly.
right?
Exactly. I am a confident woman, but then when it comes to saying that, okay, I need work as in, like showcasing my work and asking for a business or a project, it is difficult for me.
Well, what's funny is that if you've ever had to, which I'm sure you have had to look for a job, a W-2 job, you're actually doing the exact same thing. Now, normally you start with a resume in that case, or maybe a referral, somebody who knows you. But either which way, you're in an interview, correct? And in the interview, what are you doing? You're selling yourself, you're selling your skills. And frankly, there isn't much difference between W-2 and 1099 self-employment, only in that the tax status is different, how you're paid is different, but you're still solving somebody else's business challenges or somebody else's personal challenges. It's just a slightly different way of presenting those skills. But at the end of the day, there really isn't much difference. A problem's a problem, a solution. They're either going to hire you full-time with a paycheck. As a colleague of mine says, you're either going to sign the front of the paycheck or the back of the paycheck.
Yeah.
It's still the same paycheck. So maybe that'll help you shift your mindset a little bit, that it's like just getting a regular job. You're just asking to do it on a contractual basis, for example. So hopefully that helps. All right. Thank you so much, Meenal. All right. So we're going to go ahead and kind of continue on here. And in our continuing on, we're going to have a little video. And this video is actually about repurposing your professional skills, as I mentioned a few minutes ago. It's going to take you through an exercise called Passionativity and another one that we call ing and Sounds funny, but it'll make sense in a minute. And after that, we're going to do another breakout. Here we go. Taking those first steps towards self-employment might seem overwhelming at first, but it's actually simpler than you think. One successful method is to repurpose some of the professional skills you've already mastered into practical income opportunities. Example, consider the difference between knowing how to write and becoming a freelance writer.
but more on that later. Today's presentation is a step-by-step process to identify the skills you love doing and figure out which could be monetizable. The first step is to list the W-2 jobs you've held. Then list the functional skills you've used in each one. As an example, let's say one of your jobs was Director of Operations. Some of the functional skills you might have developed were report writing, financial management, data analysis, project management, group facilitation, risk management, human resources, and technology strategy. Now we're going to review a tool you can use to reorganize these skills into your level of competency and level of interest so that we can highlight those skills which you may want to repurpose into self-employment. This tool is called Passionativity. It's divided into 4 sections, which you'll label as follows: high motivation at the top, low motivation at the bottom, high skill on the right, and low skill on the left. The upper right quadrant is high engagement. These are the skills which you excel at and which you love doing. In other words, if you were independently wealthy, you'd still do them. The bottom right is stopgap work. These skills you're perfectly competent at, but they don't exactly get you out of bed Monday morning. The upper left quadrant is professional development. This quadrant breaks down into 2 sections: want to and should. The want tos are the get tos, the things you'd love to learn more about. The shoulds are the have tos, which are the skills that you think you should develop. And finally, the bottom left is disengagement. These are the skills you're not particularly good at and you really don't want to be. These things actually drain you. Now let's take a real example. The Director of Operations job we discussed earlier. Maybe you're a project-focused person who also loves dealing with people. If so, you might list the following skills in your high skill, high motivation quadrant. For example, project management, group facilitation, schedule management, cross-functional team building, executive advising, and coaching and mentoring. By contrast, if you don't particularly like dealing with numbers and data, you might list these skills in your high skill, low motivation quadrant: financial management, data analysis, technology strategy, and report writing. Again, these are the skills you're perfectly competent at, but don't particularly get excited about doing. And then in the professional development area, maybe because you really like group facilitation, you'd like to learn more about training. It's kind of in your want to category. But maybe you feel that you should know more about budget management. And finally, since rules and reporting don't thrill you, in your disengagement quadrant, you might list HR compliance. Now, how do you repurpose these skills into an actual business idea? Well, there is one more step. You'll need to look more closely at the upper right quadrant, the high skill, high motivation. Consider whether any of these skills are the ones that you love doing so much that you could possibly do them full-time in your own business. In other words, skills that really kind of pop out of the page where you say, I just can't get enough of this kind of work, and I could see myself doing it full-time on my own. It's what we call separating your ing from your Wait, what? What's that? Hang tight. I know it sounds a little funny, but it'll make sense in a minute. Your ing skill is something that you love doing. Let's say writing. Your is the small business that could come from writing, i.e. being a writer. In other words, it's the difference between doing versus being a doer. Next, you'll want to layer that with one more concept, identifying your tribe. That's the industry, mission, or sector whose business problems you know particularly well. Your tribe may be nonprofits, commercial real estate, manufacturing, or the government. And of course, there are villages, for example, environmental nonprofits or the military. Whichever tribe you've served in the past is the sector where you are likely well known, where you have the most confidence, and where your clients will likely come from. So now let's put it all together. Let's look at the ing skills that you enjoy doing, any where you feel like you'd like to repurpose those skills into a business, any tribes or hobbies where you feel confident, and finally, how you can monetize them. For example, let's say that your ing skill is project management. Your would be project manager. Let's say your tribe is government contracting, so you might explore being an outsourced project manager for government contractors. Let's say your ing is accounting and budgeting. Well, your could be a bookkeeper. And let's say that you regularly do volunteer work with elderly populations, so maybe you could provide bookkeeping services for nursing homes. Now, while you might think that that type of business is pretty niche, Actually, the more niche your product or service, the more of an expert your customer will perceive you to be. Finally, it's time to do some deep thinking. So your next step is to consider some high engagement ing skills that you could repurpose into self-employment. Again, these could be professional skills or they could be hobbies. For example, have event planning skills? Maybe you might become a digital
Event planner. Have accounting skills? Maybe you want to be a small business accountant. Love to garden? Well, maybe you could be a landscape consultant for homeowners. And then secondly, consider whether you have a tribe, an industry or a sector where you have existing contacts and credibility. You can actually lean on this community to do your market research, test your ideas, and potentially land your first clients. Next steps? Well, if you're watching this video in a live Boomer Work session, your facilitator will provide instruction for breakout room discussions. When you're in those rooms, first take a few minutes to complete the high skill, high motivation quadrant of the Passionativity exercise. Then in your small group, discuss your ing, your and any tribe so that you can determine what might be monetizable. If you're watching this privately, spend some time doing the exercise we just discussed with a friend, preferably somebody objective, who can give you some honest feedback in your brainstorming. Then check out our next video, your guide to self-employment. Okay, so we are going to go into our second breakout room, this time for 15 minutes. Michael, if you want to go ahead and put people back in those rooms, but before we do, just to kind of recap again, what you're going to do in these rooms is actually a little bit different, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to actually go through this Passiontivity exercise. I'm going to pull this back up. Actually, I'm so sorry. I don't even have it here. I thought I would. For the sake of time, take the high skill, high motivation quadrant, right? So that's the high engagement where you're a rock star at these things. You love to do them. Maybe it's 5 or 6 skills. Go ahead and as you get into your breakout rooms, go ahead and jot them down. Just kind of take 30 seconds or a minute, just really quickly, just jot down that one section. Don't do all 4. We don't have time for that right now. You can do that at home, but just that one box. And as you list it out, go ahead and go around the room and you can kind of filter it out live and say to your colleagues, okay, well, my skills, the 5 or 6 things, or 7 or 3, or however many you like, are X, Y, and Z. And then you can, with your colleagues, look at them and say, you know, this skill number 3 is something that I absolutely love. So it's your ing skill that you can say, oh, maybe this can become an maybe this is possible. And then maybe just take a few minutes with your colleagues, just a few, to say, for your colleagues to maybe give you some feedback and say, oh, that's really interesting. Who might actually benefit from that kind of skill set? Do you have a tribe that you're currently with, an industry, a sector? And just sort of noodle around that for just a few minutes and then kind of go around the room. So as you can see, this is sort of a quick sort of exercise, but we really at least wanted to give you a flavor for what this kind of feels like to do the ing and the and sort of see what's monetizable. Okay, so with that, Michael, if you want to do your thing with the Zoom rooms.
There we go.
All right, so everybody back? We good? All right. So we actually only have a few minutes for this because we do have a second video to go through. So let's see if we can take 1 or 2 people. So whoever would like to unmute themselves to share a little bit about what you guys talked about. Maybe you want to talk about one person, or maybe there was just a theme that came up. Would love to hear some thoughts. Who'd like to share?
I thought one of the things that was really interesting was that as our group got talking, 2 people found natural connections to help each other.
Wonderful. Yay.
Kind of like, oh, you know, one person talked about doing something maybe in education, and she goes, well, I work in kind of in education. And then someone else talked about an idea, and she said, well, that's going to be a side hustle, and how about let's the 2 of us talk?
Oh,
so the more you put it out there, the more you can find people with a commonality.
That is why we're here, just so you know. That's wonderful, wonderful. And we hope that those 2 are able to do some meaningful work together. And please, wherever you go, you guys are, please report back, you know, over time. Keep coming to Boomer Works. We'd love to hear how those kinds of connections were. So thanks, Gail, for sharing that. 1 or 2 more people, real quick.
Hi, there were 3 of us in group 2. 2 of us had some fairly well-defined idea of what our high-level skills were.
Yep.
1 was really reevaluating, trying to decide which direction she wanted to go in.
Yep.
And I think that's an important issue to cover, because these things don't necessarily, you know, automatically pop up into your head.
Right.
Because I'm sure most of us have done a lot of self-analysis to try and find out exactly where those skills fit in which quadrant.
Yes, for sure. And it's also good to continue to reevaluate and pivot, right, where needed. The market changes, things change, right? Our skills change, our interests change. So great concept. Thank you. And then one more person want to share?
Hi, can you hear me, Clay?
We can hear. Hi, Clay.
Hi. In our group, it was a really great group, and I really enjoy our group. We had a lot of ideas, and the mainly thing that came out was a lot of people knew exactly what their gifts were, what they were able to do. I guess it's just really just focusing on them and actually going ahead with it. They were also a lot of ideas concerning each other. We were able to give each other, prompts on what they need to do. So it's a good group that I'm in,
Good.
So
that's fantastic.
I'm learning a lot. And I think our group is really a great group because we're sharing and really listening to each other and encouraging each other.
Okay, so since you just brought that up, what I didn't mention, but I should have, would love for you guys, if you're comfortable, to share your email addresses with each other. At the very least, link in with each other. So if you haven't already done that, because I didn't prompt you to, for those who feel comfortable putting your email addresses in the chat box, I'm not sure you're necessarily going to remember the face with the name, but maybe you will, hopefully. Feel free to start doing that even now, so that you guys can start becoming a little bit of a community. And the more you come back to BoomerWorks, hopefully you'll see the same familiar faces, kind of like the TV series Cheers, right, where everybody knows your name. We hope that that's going to be more, more of what we see in the future. So thank you, Clay, for that. All right, so anything else anyone wants to share real quick before we go on to the last piece? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and watch one more video. It's 9 minutes long, and this is actually the intro to self-employment. This is sort of all the basics, right, from tax status and questions you want to ask yourself as you launch your business. Just kind of the high level questions. Okay, so here we go. When it's time to start putting your business idea into action, you want to explore steps. First, it's good to understand the difference between an employee and a 1099 independent contractor. An employee receives a W-2 tax form annually, which specifies yearly earnings and taxes withheld from a paycheck, including payroll taxes. But an independent contractor receives a 1099 tax form, or multiple tax forms if you have multiple clients. And each of these forms lists the total income paid to the contractor from each company. The 1099 will not show any tax deductions because the contractor is responsible for their own taxes, including self-employment tax, such as Medicare and Social Security, and personal income tax. So it's very important to set aside your estimated taxes each time you get paid by a client so that you won't have a big tax bill at the end of the year. A good rule of thumb is to set aside 30%. Your accountant can walk you through best practices. The next building block of your business is the tax structure, the business structure. While your accountant will help you decide which path is best for you, here's the basics. Sole proprietorship. You don't need to do anything in order to be a sole proprietor. You actually are one right now. You don't need to register with the state. You would simply list your Social Security number on your 1099 forms. You track your business expenses and your income, and you pay self-employment and income tax. So right now, if you got a client, you're in business. You don't need to do anything else legally to get going. That said, if you would like more protection for your business legally and also look at different kinds of tax structures, you might consider an LLC or an S Corp, which your accountant can share with you in terms of the pros and cons of both. Larger corporations will often go with a C Corp or a partnership. If you'd like more information from the IRS, there is an article listed here on our website. Now, as to which type of self-employment might be right for you, you have lots of options. If you need quick cash, you might consider gig work, for example, being a part-time driver for Amazon. You might also consider 1099 freelance projects, which could include a variety of unrelated assignments. For example, freelance writing for some clients and bookkeeping services for others. You're essentially creating a menu of flexible options based on your core skills, which you can scale up or down based on the needs of your market. If you want to sell products online, for example, antique jewelry or baked goods, you might consider e-commerce. You may also consider government contracting if you have experience working with the government. Or maybe multi-level marketing. A well-known example of this would be Mary Kay. The advantage of this type of work is that the business infrastructure and the marketing plan is already set up for you by their corporate headquarters. All you have to do is implement their best practices.
If you'd like to find freelance opportunities online, consider the numerous on-demand websites that connect employers with freelancers. This slide contains a sample of these platforms, and actually a very small sample because there are really too many to count. The positive side of these sites is that jobs are plentiful and you can find opportunities literally all around the world. That's also the challenge because you're competing with other freelancers around the world who might charge much less than you. The other factor to keep in mind is that you'll need to create a strong profile on these sites and get clients to recommend you so that you'll show up on the first page of results when an employer is seeking your services. You may also want to do some research on best practices or look up other freelancer accounts on those on-demand sites to see what works for them. When you download this presentation, you'll be able to click on this article, 10 Things I Learned Freelancing on Gig Platforms. Now, before you start pursuing your first client, it's important to define your target market. Do you want to sell primarily to consumers, which we call B2C, to businesses, which we call B2B, or to the government, which we call B2G? Each of these targets actually has a different segment that you're going to want to approach. So if you're going B2C, you're going to want to target a demographic. Maybe it's women between the ages of 30 to 45 who are working moms and need a specific service that you have to offer. Or maybe it's people from a different country even. You're definitely going to want to target a population because those individuals are going to want to know that you can solve their urgent challenges. Same thing with B2B. You're going to target an industry. Those industries have specific challenges. Maybe it's commercial real estate or nonprofits or financial services. Each of those industries needs to know how you are in a unique position to help them solve their problems. But again, you're not going to want to go for all of those industries. You're going to want to start by targeting one and show that industry that you are there to serve them. And likewise with B2G, you'll target a sector. Maybe it's a certain kind of agency. Maybe it's USDA or NIH or the military. In any event, all of those target markets would want to see you as the solution to their problems. So here are some initial questions to consider as you're identifying your target market. First, there's your overall business concept. Again, what are those urgent problems that someone would want to pay you to solve? And the more urgent the problem, the more likely they're going to want to plunk down hard-earned money to work with you. The less urgent the problem, the longer the sales cycle. Now there's the skills transfer. Which of your W-2 skills can you repurpose to solve those problems? In a previous video on BoomerWorks called Repurposing Your W-2 Skills, we show you how to do some of this repurposing through an exercise called Passionativity. We also talk about a concept called ing versus So your ing skills, your profession. So for example, writing is a skill. Writer is the profession or the business that you could possibly repurpose into. And we have a whole exercise around that in that video. And then there's your business model. In what ways do you want to provide those solutions? Maybe you want to consult or train or broker relationships or deliver on-site services or use e-commerce platforms. There's so many ways to deliver, but you definitely want to pick one to start with because that's going to be your core focus of your business. Next, consider your marketing, which means telling others about your value. That's what marketing is all about. Yes, there are creative elements to it. Yes, you might have a logo and a website and any other kind of collateral, but at the end of the day, your target market wants to know how you can solve their problems and the value that you provide. Pricing, of course, is also a key consideration. It's important to do your market research to determine what fair pricing is for your product or service. Contact other people who offer similar products or services to see what they charge. You'll be amazed at what colleagues will be willing to share with you. And next, you'll, of course, want to consider your operations. How do you keep the business running? For example, the technology you'll be using, how you'll handle your accounting, and how you'll manage your time. Under the Resources tab of the BoomerWorks website, you'll find our Lean Business Plan template for other questions for you to consider as you're building your infrastructure. We also, of course, have a training center that has specific educational videos on these topics. So here are some helpful hints as you get started on your self-employment journey. Start with an initial plan. Remember, it will grow and evolve. You don't need to overthink it. You don't need to get into analysis paralysis. Just get going. Next, don't be afraid of learning some new technology. Never too old to learn, and these days, so many technology platforms are very, very user-friendly, so usually just takes a quick YouTube video, or maybe somebody in your personal life can show you the ropes, and maybe even another colleague. It's very common for small business owners to share tips and resources with each other, especially when it comes to new platforms. Spend a little time every day on your launch. You want to keep the progress going, and you want to keep your ideas flowing, because once you stop, it's a little hard to get started again. So make sure every single day you're just kicking that football down the field. Next, find people who can help you test your idea. Those could be friends, family members, or colleagues who you can have safe conversations with, who can give you some honest feedback on your journey. And those very same people may, in fact, have your first customer lead. They might even be your first customer lead. Because, of course, these are the people who know you, like you, and trust you. And that's how business is conducted. So definitely go ahead and tap those people who are your biggest champions, because they are likely to want to refer you your first piece of business. And then along those lines, find people who can encourage you along the journey. You need cheerleaders. Being self-employed definitely has its ups and downs, and so having people who can support you is going to be very, very helpful as you move forward. As a bonus, please download this presentation on boomerworks.org/intro to self-employment for additional tips on the following slides. So slide 30, which comes right after this one, will be additional considerations for your business plan. Slide 31, initial steps to launch your business. 32, where to find additional coaching and support. And slide 33, suggested books and videos. Plus, as I mentioned earlier, find additional educational resources under our boomerworks.org Training Center tab. We wish you every success as you take your first steps on the journey to self-generating income. As a skilled professional, you have so much to offer your future clients. With courage and faith and some raving fans to cheer you on, you can be on your way to a thriving business more quickly than you know. All right. So with that, we are actually about to wrap up, but I did want to at least have one more opportunity for folks to kind of open up some mics and talk a little bit about, we don't have actually time for breakout rooms right now, but wanted to sort of open the lines, the chat box, you can unmute yourself. We have another 5 minutes or so left. If there are any kind of high-level questions, things that we can answer, you guys can answer it yourselves, because of course no one person is an expert on everything. We believe in the power of community. So who has kind of a broad question or even a specific question that you'd like to share with the group?
Well, this was Michelle. This was a great presentation, and I'm really excited. So I'm going to go in and start working on my stuff.
Oh, fantastic. Michelle, do you have an idea of what you want to do? Or is it all still brand new to you?
Yeah, I do. I had mentioned in my group, in the passion in the back of my mind has been to be a voice talent, a voiceover artist. And I really would like to connect with the federal government, because they do a lot of training in online training and things like that.
Yes.
And I think that would be a good place for me to start. It's also a difficult place to break in. But the first thing I think I'd do is go back to some of the volunteer work I've been doing.
Yes.
And that will give me some place of reference. I can say, okay, I did this for this company, and that would be something I could refer to when people are asking for what I've done.
Well, Michelle, I actually have a lead for you of there's someone I know who actually is in voiceovers, and she does partnering work with another person who does training in voiceovers. Like that other person helps people train to get into the business. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put my email address in here to everyone. Actually, if anybody wants to contact me, and feel free to reach out, and I will put you in touch with my colleague, and you guys can go off and network.
Oh, terrific! Thank you.
You're welcome. See how this works, right? I'll share resources.
And to everybody, networking really pays off.
It does. It is all about who you know, for sure. And we're all a supportive community here. So who else has a question, a thought, idea? Maybe you need a lead, maybe you need a resource. Just want to give you guys an opportunity to do a little bit more networking.
Oh. This is Claritha. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Well, I've been working in accounting, and I think I really was in a good group too also. When I first came today, I've been in accounting for 20 plus years, and I was thinking about starting my own bookkeeping company, you know. And so at this point, I don't know if I need definitely some training in it and getting some certifications in. And someone in my group brought up another good idea. I like seniors, and I really felt like this was a good concept to me too, because it's still around the area of around finance and around accounting, was to reach out to seniors and create a type of program for financial management at this time. So I just really thought that was a great idea. And at this point, I definitely want to develop my own company where I can do something that not only will make me money, but to be a help to people also.
Yeah.
So I come out of here with some great ideas, a little bit more confident in where I'm going to.
Good.
And also, I was just very was blessed to be with a good group also. And I want to, you know, just give a shout out to them for sharing and also for putting something inside of me today.
Oh, that's fantastic, Clarissa. Thank you so much for sharing that. If I could just even comment just a couple of things, a couple of notes around that. So first of all, you actually don't need, just for the business that you just mentioned, I don't believe you need any kind of certification. Your experience is your certification. It is your credibility. It's not like anybody's going to say that you have to be a CPA necessarily. Now you could partner with one if somebody needs to have services that require, right? So for example, tax preparation, but in terms of bookkeeping services, you have the cred because of what you've done. And as long as you believe in your skills, other people will believe it too. And I truly mean that. When you open your mouth and you tell your friends and colleagues and family, guess what? I'm launching a bookkeeping service. They will likely say, you go for it, girl, it's about time. We believe you that you can offer all of these great services. That's the first thing. The second thing is when it comes to tapping into the new market. So for example, elderly populations, which is kind of funny that I had that in the video and you just mentioned that. That was just really interesting. What you want to do is you want to start testing the market. And so you would want to just start asking your friends and family and colleagues for elderly people in their community who you could just have a conversation with, or maybe the children of those folks, right? Because a lot of times children are the advocates for their elderly parents who need that kind of support. So whichever one you want to talk to, probably the children who might actually be footing the bill even, and say, look, I'm I'm exploring this kind of opportunity. What do you think? What is the problem that they might need solving? I'm thinking of offering financial management solutions. Is that even a problem for your parents? If so, you know, under what conditions might you or they consider outsourcing some of that support? And you just sort of have this creative conversation. It's very safe. You're not selling anything. You're not asking for anything other than advice and input. And that's part of what market research is all about, is tapping into your potential market, your potential customer base, and simply asking people, what do you need? And as you hear more and more about what those needs are, you can then say, aha, I have a solution. Or maybe they have a need and you're like, actually, that's not really my thing. And maybe you find somebody else that you can partner with or refer business to. But every time somebody taps on a need that makes you go, yeah, I can solve that, then you go a little deeper and then you think about, well, in what ways do they need solving? Would they want me to come, well, COVID notwithstanding, would they want me to come to their home or their nursing home and do work with them? Do I need to do work offline? Do I need whatever? What is the situation? Do I need to train people? I don't know. You would need to, the more you get into what the needs and challenges are, the more you can figure out not only what solution you want to provide, but how you want to provide it. And then of course, what people are willing to pay. Under what conditions are they even willing to pay? How urgent is that? Do you see how there's almost like a stair step? What you need, then your solution, then the ways you deliver it, how much and then all of a sudden the business model just sort of shows up. But we, again, please encourage you highly to go to our training center tab, go to the resources, go to the boomerworks.org, the resources tab, and click on the Lean Business Plan template. That has a whole bunch of boxes that have all kinds of questions around what I just shared to help you think through what are some of the ways to actually develop your business model. Okay.
Thank you. And can I thank my group too? Thank you, my group that was with me today. I really, really think it was just awesome to be in a group that gave me such encouragement and gave me some thought to what I could do.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, you're just spurring on the need for us to do these little growth groups. So let's make sure we're going to do that sooner than later so we can get you all together again. And so just be watching for that as we have another meetup invitation sooner than later in the next couple of months. Again, we're going to call it a growth group. So stay tuned for that. Okay.
Okay.
All right, so everyone, so wrapping things up, just want to make sure we stay on time here. We really appreciate you being here today, and we want to stay in touch with you. So if you have questions, please feel free to write us at info@boomerworks.org. If you'd like to volunteer, we would certainly appreciate that. We are an all volunteer-run organization, but of course we do have expenses. So any amount is very, very helpful. If you found value from today's session, we would encourage you to donate so that we can continue to help the community. If you'd like to volunteer, we have all kinds of opportunities for that. Feel free to write us about it. And then if you want to join our community, there's a little join button on the boomerworks.org website, and just make sure to stay in touch. Even if you have registered with us on the Meetup site, we definitely would love to have you within our own Boomerworks database so that we can keep you abreast of upcoming events. So with that, we wish you a blessed evening, and we look forward to seeing you again on a future Boomerworks event.
Right.
Wonderful evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's a great session.
It was a great section.
You're welcome.
So much.
Bye, Michael.
Goodbye.
Oh,
Thanks, Cheryl.
Bye, Kelly.
Cheryl, what's the easiest way to grab these notes?
Yeah.
That session notes.
Bye, Mia, Meena. You had a pretty name, but I couldn't pronounce it, but bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care, everyone.
Thank Kelly. Bye, everyone.
Bye, Clarissa.
Bye.
Bye.